Click the bell icon to get latest videos from Ekeeda.
Hello friends, today what I'm going to teach is constituents and characteristics of molding a sand. So sand, as I had said, it is an important property of a casting process. It has some of its constituents, like it can't be used like raw sand. It has some constituents and it has some properties. So we are going to see that today. So firstly, I'll talk about the constituent. So what exactly it consists of? The first constituent is silica sand. Silica sand is of higher proportion in your sand. So it consists of almost 80 to 90% of your sand. Like it is raw sand, it has some property of sustainability, of high temperature, refractories and etc. So silica sand is constituent which is of a higher number in your sand. So it should be proper, like it should be framed, it should be conditioned properly so that it can be used in your sand. The next thing which you use is clay. So clay consists of a binding property. So clay also consists of almost 9% or 9 to 10%, 15% of your sand. So it helps in binding your silica sand together. So clay helps in binding. In loam sand, clay consists of almost 50%. So loam sand is a type of sand. Sand also has its different types, which we'll see in our different videos. But loam sand consists of 50% of clay and 50% of silica sand. So in this way, sand consists of clay, which helps in binding the sand together. Then we'll come to water. Water is a very important constituent, although it is added in very less quantity so that the sand should get mixed properly. So clay and water helps in binding your sand together. So silica, clay, water. If excess water is added, what happens? It goes in a more liquid state, which we don't want. And less water is added and it goes in a dry state, which again we don't want. So for avoiding this, proper quantity of clay as well as sand as well as water is added so that it should be remain together, it should get binded together and it can be used. And the fourth thing which I'm telling you is additive. Additive can be of any type. It can be small granules, cereals, etc. These are just added. It's a kind of catalyst which enhances the property of your sand. So all these things mixed together, like you need some silica and then you need some proper quantity of clay, water, and you need some additive mixed together, then you can use it for your normal casting purpose. Then we'll come to some essential characteristic of your sand. Essential characteristics consist of first, permeability. Permeability, your sand should be vented enough to permit the gas to go out. As your molten sand is hot, it comes inside and it gets mixed with your sand in small quantity. Basically, liquid doesn't mix, gases mix. So the gases should be permitted to come out and be vented out. So in this way, permeability helps the excess air to get vent out and go in the atmosphere. Then comes refractory. Again, as I'll say, hot gases comes, the sand should have the highest refractory property so that it can sustain the high temperature, so that it do not get washed away with the molten metal. So refractory is a property of sustaining the high temperature and getting be maintained at that temperature and at that place. So in this way, permeability and refractories come in picture. Then we go to strength. Again, it should have high strength so that it should not get collapsed easily. Sand has the property of getting collapsed when we want it to get collapsed. Like after the whole process is done, collapsibility is required. But when the process is going on, it needs strength. Strength is a property in which the sand needs to be at its place and it should not get wiped off. So in this way, permeability, refractory as well as strength is an important property. Then we'll come to smoothness. Smoothness is a property in which what happens is, if your sand is not smooth enough, then your molten metal gets stick to it. So it should be smooth. It should allow flowability of your molten metal properly. So in this way, smoothness comes in picture. Your sand should be smooth enough to allow flowability of your molten metal. Then comes collapsibility. Again, as I have told you, sand should collapse whenever it is required. So when the process is done, everything is done, you need the sand to get collapsed. So it should have the property of collapsibility, in which when you push it or you remove it, it should be easily collapsed and no lumps are formed in your sand. So these are some properties like permeability, refractory, strength, smoothness, as well as collapsibility. These properties should be there in your sand so that you can carry out the further process of casting. Thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned with Ekeeda and do subscribe our channel Ekeeda.